Hey, guys.
Hello there.
That's Justin with a stool. Thank you, sir.
Walked right in front of the camera and gave me that look.
Pass down the stools there. All right. Well, hopefully everybody had a wonderful week last week. For those of you that I saw in Atlanta, hello, and thank you for stopping by. That was really awesome. There was a couple of these critters out there in the wild.
A couple of critters. All right.
So,
yeah,
that was really neat.
That's good. You know, I'd never heard of the Blade Show before, you guys, but it sounds like it's a pretty big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Oogie?
It's huge. Like, there was somebody there that had gone to some of the smaller shows. You know, like Blade Show the last few years has kind of expanded into, they've got Blade West now out in California. I'm pretty sure it's California. Anyways, and then they've got like Blade Texas, so they have a show in Texas. So they've been kind of expanding and moving around, and the shows have, Blade has kind of taken in a lot of the shows, because there used to be like Ice in Kansas City, and I've been to that one. And then there was like a show in Arkansas, which maybe the Arkansas Custom Knife Show still happens. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't pitched. We just go to Blade anymore. But so you think about like those other shows, and typically when you're going to go to those, it's like maybe a little bit bigger than Sheridan, you know, as far as space goes for vendors and stuff, but probably not too much bigger. Like not. It's a smaller convention center, but this convention center goes on for days. And when you're there, you got to think about like every 6 foot by 3 foot table is a vendor. And so you just have rows and rows and rows and rows of those. Like it starts, I was on row 17, and I think it went to like 22. And that's just the ABS section. So 17 to 22 this way. And then it went from A to like U or V or something as far as tables that like go this way. Wow. So like that block of just individual one table knife makers, it's hundreds of individual knife makers. And then you have a whole nother room. And then you also have like all of the production stuff. So, you know, you've got like your Chris Reeves and your CRKT, and you've got all the production on the other side of the room, which is like, it's like double. Anyways, same thing. It's huge. But in any case, we're not here to talk about knife show. We're here to talk about saddles.
That's what we're doing?
I think so. That's what I hear. I just got back today, so it's a little, you know, off the cuff.
Well, you know, and I've been gone for 4 days, so my cuff is off too.
We're always we don't wear cuffs here. We wear t-shirts.
Well, I was in Florida over the weekend, so
yeah,
I don't have any cuffs either.
What are we doing, folks?
Justin's been holding down the fort.
Holding down the fort.
Holding the shirt down.
Yeah.
Hey, Chevy's here. That's right. Chevy doesn't have a job anymore.
Gave it up?
He gave up the, I always want to say Bojangles, but that's not it.
Gave up the Bojangles.
But it's a feed store. Chevy.
Tractor Supply?
No. Bumgars.
Bumgard.
See, Bojangles. Same thing.
Well, yeah, it's spelled just like that.
2 weeks left.
2 weeks left, and then it's all done. Well, we're
Right.
going to talk about saddle trees to begin
That's
with,
right.
because we're getting ready to do a saddle making series. I know
It's going to be the saddle making summer of 2024.
Since we've started doing videos, as far as recorded or even the live, people have asked, hey, are you going to do a saddle making video? I would love to see how a saddle's made from start to finish. And we've had the video that Elizabeth did, the other Elizabeth, that she did. Was that the last saddle that you had made? Last full saddle you had made?
No, I made one, and I did a saddle class.
In the class.
A year or two later, I made another saddle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have. You know, saddles are what I used to do.
Yep.
But
we do call you a saddle maker pretty frequently.
Yeah, but since I've been here, you know, that hasn't been what I do.
We don't need that many saddles.
So we're going to do it. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it live.
Yeah. And you guys, here's the thing. Here's the way I see it and the way I've been playing it so far. There's a lot of small little parts like rig catchers and flank billets and stirrups, you know, it's going to take us all summer to actually put the saddle together.
I think we have 13 parts of it, and
Yeah.
each part is going to be about 3-ish hours, 3 to 3.5-ish hours.
Yeah, and it could turn out to be 16 or 18
Parts.
Yeah, that's okay.
It just depends on how things go, but I'm old.
Yeah,
and things don't always go like I
And
planned.
we're doing this in precision style. So,
Yes.
because it'll be entered next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm going to try and enter this saddle in the World Leather Day.
That's right. You got to have something in there before you're done saddle making.
We talked about it with Chris Andre and you guys entering the World Leather debut, so we might as well put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
And Denny's going to be our mouth. And we're going to put our money into him.
Okay.
All right.
I want that. I want you to follow up on that.
Okay.
Put the money into me.
Oh, no, you're not going to have to pay for the 2 sides of leather that are going to be needed for your saddle. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and 13 to 16 parts of the saddle making is going to take place out at your desk. We got a computer that's set up out there. The cameras are going to be adjusted out there. Wednesdays and Fridays will take place out there, and we'll have more on that a little bit later. But let's talk about trees, where your tree came from, parts of trees, histories of trees.
Okay, this tree came from Bowden Saddle Tree Company in Texas, Anthony, Texas.
That sounds like a fantastic place to be.
I'm sure it is. I've never been to Anthony, Texas.
Yeah, they probably got some great Anthonys there.
But they're a custom saddle tree
send you down
company, and there are lots of custom saddle tree companies in this saddle world.
Mm-hmm.
Timberline Saddle Tree is another one. I talked to them when we were in Sheridan.
Mm-hmm.
They're a very nice tree company. Most of your custom tree companies will build you anything that you want.
Okay.
They will send you a catalog if you ask for it, and it'll have pictures of different styles of saddle trees.
I feel like it's like whenever you're creating your avatar in the online space, and you get to choose like your eye shape and your hair color and dew and your like all the little things.
That's exactly
okay.
That's exactly right. Let's just take this for instance. This is a Will James tree.
Will James.
Yes. That has nothing to do with the saddle itself.
Okay.
The Will James part of it is just the swell, the fork of it, right here. It has nothing to do with the horn. It has nothing to do with the cantle or the bars. They're all separate.
Hey, why we talk about this? Why don't you tell us what are all the parts of a saddle?
There's only 3 different parts.
Three main parts of it.
Yeah. There's the bars, the cantle, and the swell, the
fork
or the pommel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pommel is an English term, so this is a swell.
Yeah.
Right here. And a lot of swells are slick forks, which are not a swell fork. So, okay.
This is not confusing.
Enough confusion there. But anyway.
So bars, cantle, forks.
Yes, those are the 3 main parts. The bars and the cantle are generally one piece of wood that they've shaped. The fork or the swell is generally laminated, and if it's got a wood post horn like this, the swell and the horn itself are all one piece. A lot of saddles have a metal horn, which is a separate piece. So
you don't say.
I do say. I do say.
Yeah, unless you put a railroad tie in a tree in the fork area, it's going to be hard to get your horn to be inlaid. So back in the older days, probably even predating you, when they were doing the forks of the tree, the forks came out of the fork in a tree. Okay.
Originally, we stole the American Western stock saddle from Mexico.
Vaqueros.
Yeah, they're the ones that started this all. And there would be some old Mexican in a serape leaning up against a saguaro cactus, chewing his cud or whatever he was doing. And he would say, I'm going to make a saddle. So he would go and find himself a mesquite tree or whatever,
what kind of tree?
Mesquite.
Yeah, whatever. That's why I said whatever.
It's an acorn.
Yeah, acorn tree. And he would cut it off, and where the fork of it was, he would turn that upside down, and that would be the swell that we have here, and this part up here would be the horn.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he would tear down a house or something and find himself a set of planks and make the bars and the back panel with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they would cover it with rawhide sometimes. You know, and I don't know if you've ever seen a Mexican charro rodeo, but they all have a huge post horn on them, and they cover them with white rawhide, and they will say they're roping horses. They will rope a horse as it goes by and take a dally on it, and they're using like 100-foot maguey rope, 100 foot, and you see these guys coil it just right. But anyway, they'll take that dally, and the horse is going on, and the smoke will just boil off of this horn, just boil. I mean, it'd be like a dragster burning out.
Okay.
You know,
because they're not doing a full dally on it. They're still letting it loose.
They just have bare rawhide.
Yeah.
They'll take a full dally, but it'll slip, and they'll just let it go, and you can see the coils coming out of their hand, and when they get to the very end, they'll clamp down and stop the horse. But it would wear the horn out. Eventually, it'd pop off. So the old Mexican would have to take his serape off and go out and find another mesquite tree and redo his saddle.
Is that why they started off with horns so big so they had a long time to wear?
Yeah.
You're burning rubber.
Burning rubber. Yeah.
Burning rawhide.
Yeah. But anyway, when you're ordering a saddle tree, you've got to figure out what shape of swell that you want. And like I said, this is a Will James. They have slick fork saddles. Probably the most common saddle that they build nowadays are a 58 weight or a cliff weight or something like that.
And what determines this section?
Well, it was how guys like to ride. So Cliff Wade, he had got. I did some research on it, reading about him, and so he had gotten this tree or this saddle that he had from Deadwood, is what I had read. His dad, Cliff Wade's dad, or whatever, I can't remember what his name was, had got this saddle from there, and that was a style of forks that he had, and then it got passed down to his son, and somebody else liked the way that he roped and whatever he did, and is what is turned now into the James saddle or a Wade saddle, or flip through the book and find a name. Whoever was riding the saddle, then they named that fork after them.
Yeah. And that's the way it's always been. Like a lot of popular roping saddles, whoever's winning money in the rodeo that year has a saddle tree that they supposedly design, and that's what all the big saddle companies will be selling.
We got a Bowman Roper, Buster Welch, D. Pickett. I mean, you just got names on and on.
Yeah. It's limitless, and any tree company that's a custom tree maker, their catalog will say, "We'll make you anything you want."
Yeah.
Right. Well, how do you determine though what you want?
If you ride a lot, you pretty much know what kind of a tree that you want. Because like I say, all you're talking about when you're talking about the name of the tree is this part right here.
Okay.
You're not talking about the horn. You're not talking about the bars, the length of the seat, the cantle, how wide, how deep. You aren't talking about any of that. But most people will know. They will have an idea of what they want. If nothing else, they can thumb through a tree book and kind of pick something out from that. But
can you order one of those from Bowden or Timberline or
sure,
whatever? They'll send you a catalog?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of them will. There might be some small tree makers that don't have a catalog.
Right.
But they'll probably say,
send you pictures.
Say, you
what do you
name
want?
it, I'll build it for you.
Yeah. And what do you like about Bowden?
I've used Bowden for quite a while. The last probably 30 or 40 saddles I've built, I use Bowden trees. I would use a Timberline tree.
Yeah.
I think. In fact, if I ever order another tree, I'll probably order it.
What was the other company that was up there? Somebody was asking.
Well, that was it. They said they didn't want to.
What you
get
think
a
of whatever trees?
Yeah. Oh, Swanky.
Oh, Ben Swanky, yeah, he's a famous tree maker. There's lots of them. Right now, Timberline or Bowden, their trees run between $400 and $500. It depends. You can have options on them, so it depends on what options you decide on as to what the final price will be. But $400 or $500 for them. Some of those guys like Ben Swanky, they're probably upwards of $700 or $800.
Yeah.
It just depends. How much money you want to spend.
Sure.
This is a good tree. It'll build as good a saddle, I think, as any that I could have. A lot of trees. This is wood covered with rawhide. A lot of trees nowadays are made with wood covered with fiberglass or Kevlar.
Have you used any of those?
No.
Okay.
I haven't. Yeah, I'm kind of a traditionalist. There's some people that say, "Oh, the old rawhide covered trees are no good." After years, they'll get wet and swell up and not be I've worked on lots of
Denny
saddles
says fooey on that.
well over 100 years old that are still good saddles. The
Yeah.
tree is still solid, good trees. So I don't believe any of that. And what I do like about a rawhide tree is it has a little bit of flex to it. So when your horse is moving and stopping hard, turning hard, doing whatever, or taking a hard jerk, that tree will give just a little bit, enough to kind of relieve a little pressure.
I can't imagine fiberglass really giving very much.
Yeah. Fiberglass and Kevlar, they're solid. If they move, they break.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it.
How does the horse figure into saddle selection?
Okay. A common tree nowadays, if you go to a saddle store and buy a saddle tree, the dimensions are probably going to be 6 1/4 to 6 1/2 wide between these 2 points right here. And
that's called
that's the gullet.
Yep.
The gullet width. The gullet height will be approximately 7 1/2 to 8 inches.
And that's from here to the table?
From here to the table when it's sitting on a flat surface like this. Now, if you take a finished saddle and try to measure that, you can't measure it. You got to measure a bare tree before you know the actual dimensions on it. But to 6 1/4 to 6 1/2 width will fit 90% of the horses in this country today. I don't know about if you're talking about hunter jumpers and thoroughbred horses, they're built a little narrower, a little longer geared than an American quarter horse.
Or if you have a horse that has tall withers.
Right. There's always differences, but a 6 1/2 by 8 inch gullet will fit 95% of every horse you can put it on.
And I suppose if you have a horse that's that special, that's so different, you probably know about those differences and you'd be able to communicate
your
that.
Horse to get measured for your custom tree.
A professional horse person, if they're like showing horses or if they're rodeoing or whatever they're doing, a reiner or something, and they've got several different horses and a couple of them just don't quite fit the bill as far as a normal saddle, they're the ones that need something special.
Right.
And there's pads and shims that you can get for your saddle to help fit your horse a little bit better. If you want to use a saddle.
Those are Band-Aids.
They are. If you don't want to spend the money to get another.
Right.
If you don't want to get.
Right.
I think we have 3 saddles, so. Not including the little one saddle.
Yeah. But most people aren't going to have a problem with a saddle unless they're putting long hours in it.
Yeah.
Someone that goes out on a trail ride for 45 minutes, they aren't going to hurt a horse. A big person has more trouble with saddle fit than a small person.
Yeah.
Because they've got a lot of weight on the saddle.
Is that why jockeys are the tiniest people in the whole world?
Yeah, and the saddles they ride are this big. So the saddle fit doesn't have a lot to do with a racehorse, I don't think. But I don't, I really don't know very much about racehorse saddles and English saddles. I'm not schooled in that at all.
You're a Western fella.
Yeah, Western stock saddles is what I've always built.
Well, in saddles on horses, I think I was reading from the Han Dynasty, which was like 200 BC or something like that. So saddles had been used on horses then before it was just more of a frame to put a piece of felt on to help distribute the weight a little bit more. And that's all really what the saddle is doing now is just helping distribute the weight of the rider or whatever's happening, the livestock that they're catching, how heavy the livestock is catching, to what the saddle is putting down into the horse.
Right. And another thing, in years past, the horses were built thinner. They didn't necessarily have a taller wither, but they didn't have as wide a shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
As they weren't as meaty as the horses are
Mm-hmm.
today. So the bars they weren't quite as flared out as they are now. They were a little steeper.
Oh, okay.
So if you say buy an old antique type saddle and try to put it on a new, they call them a mutton withered horse, a horse that doesn't have much withers and is real broad in the shoulder, they aren't going to fit real well because they're going to be sitting like this
Standing
on
up.
top of the horse.
Yeah.
But most of the trees today, like if you order a 6.5 inch gullet, the bar width is going to be about the same. From here to here will be approximately 13.5 inches, if I remember right. I may be a little bit wrong, but I think about that. And there are a lot of different ways to measure saddle trees too. A lot of saddle makers will measure right in here, and then they will measure the actual degrees of flare that they have on.
All right.
I'm not quite that scientific.
90, 93 inch or 93 degree flare
right,
or whatever.
Right. But generally, you have a quarter horse, a semi quarter horse, and a full quarter horse bar. Full quarter horse. If you have a 6.5 inch gullet, it'll be a full quarter horse bar, which means that's the flare that it'll have. Another thing, there's differences in the bottom of the bars. I don't know if you can see it right here, but there's a little notch at the front of these bars. That's where the front of your stirrup leather rides. And this is called an Arizona bar. So it's tapered from here back. An old style bar had another slot right here.
About
Okay.
halfway down.
But that's a weak point because this is the narrowest part of the bar right here. And
Right.
that's where that slot was. So it made it even weaker yet. And a lot of older type saddles would break right there. So this Arizona bar that's tapered like that still works just as well, but it doesn't have that weak point to it.
Do they make those anymore?
Sure.
Okay.
Most of these saddle tree companies that we're talking about today, if you don't specify, they will make you an Arizona bar.
Gotcha.
Some of them call it improved Arizona, or maybe their company name Arizona bars or whatever, but they will be shaped like this. If you're ordering a saddle for a mule, they're straight back. They don't have a lot of swale to their back. You've heard about the old gray mare, the sway back mare,
Mm-hmm.
That happens in horses. It generally doesn't happen in mules because they're straight across the back to begin with. So this is twisted. It's got a twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
A mule bar won't have nearly the twist, and it won't taper. It won't flare off like this does. It'll be more of a straight bar. Let me see. What else can I tell you? The cantle back here. You have your choice of however high you want it. Old style would be about 2 inches high. It would be something like this,
Okay.
Not old style, but back in the 50s and
Mm-hmm.
60s. That's what they would be doing. Real old style, antique old style would be a 5 and a 6 inch cantle, which is real high. Nowadays, around 3.5 or 4 inch cantle is about what most of them will have. This has a 3.5 inch cantle.
Yeah, the only one that would be a little bit bigger would be like a barrel racer. Sometimes you'll see riders with a tall cantle.
Yeah. The width of this cantle from here to here is also optional. I believe this is probably 12 and a half to 13. I forget what I ordered there, but that's about normal, about what I like.
So this 15 and a half measurement, where's that coming from?
That comes from, a lot of people will measure from here to here,
Okay.
but the measurement is from here, the base of the horn, to the
Top.
candle, where this comes up.
Okay.
That will be the actual length. Now, this is 15 and a half from here to here right now. After you build the saddle, you're going to be building this fork out a little bit.
Yeah.
You're going to have leather on it.
Yeah,
You're going to be building this out. So this will probably finish out around 15 inches.
Okay.
Which is a pretty standard seat.
It depends on you. You know, you could ride probably a 14 and a half. You could too, probably.
I think
you know,
wear the
old style. They rode a real short seated saddle, but they rode with their stirrup leathers real long, where they were almost standing straight up and down. You know, nowadays they ride with this shorter stirrup leather. Their knees are bent more up against the fork of the saddle.
I was gonna say, if you're a pretty tall person, I feel like you might have to alter this a little bit in order to be comfortable.
Well, yeah.
What about that? Oh, you weren't there last year. Dang it. There was like the tallest person I've ever seen in real life at the Sheridan show last year. I snuck up and took a picture of him behind me. So tall. But I feel like he had to have been like 7 foot.
Well, you know, the seat length for him wouldn't be nearly as important as the stirrup leather length. You know,
right? Okay.
Because you will, you know, if you've got someone that's 7 feet tall and you're building one saddle for that person and another person who's 5 feet tall, there's going to be a big difference there. You know.
Yeah, he might go from like a 15 and a half to a 16 and a half seat, but the stirrup leather is going to be ginormously long.
Right. A normal stirrup leather is 64 inches long. You know. So you've got to go from there. If you're building it for a 5 foot person, you might want to make the stirrup leather 62 or 60.
Yeah.
A tall person, you might want to make them 68 or 70.
Okay.
You know, in the same way, you'll have to stretch out the fenders or make them a little bit shorter.
Tessa remembers the really tall person. He's hard to forget.
Now the horn. Oh, one other thing about the candle. There's a dish in the candle. You have a choice of how much dish you want, because if you just bridge straight across there, you know, there's going to be a big void behind you.
Yeah. So
a normal dish in a saddle will be 1 to 1.5 inches deep. I don't know if any of you have ever ridden a saddle and when the old horse starts to lope or trot, the back of the saddle just whacks you in the butt all the time. Because when your horse is trotting, you need to be basically standing up. You know?
Okay.
So the saddle's moving under you, and they'll sit there and slap you in the butt if the candle is too deep, if the dish is too deep or too tall.
Okay.
You know, I like 1.25 inch dish. If no one specifies, that's what I'll order is 1.25 inch, because that'll do pretty well for most people. I feel like.
Okay.
I've never had a complaint anyway. Okay, now the horn. You have a choice of how tall you want the horn, how big a cap you want on the horn, the style of the cap. They've got what they call a Guadalajara horn, which is round in the back and it comes to a point in the front.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It's real cute. I wish I had ordered one for this, but I didn't even think about it when I did it. But this is what they call a wood post horn. The fork and the horn are all machined out of one piece. You know, and I had a choice of how tall I wanted it and how big a cap I wanted on it. This is a 3 inches tall. You've got a 3-inch cap. I've ordered bigger caps, but when I finish this out, you're going to be adding probably 3/8 of an inch to each side.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a 3 5/8 or 3 3/4 inch cap when all's said and done, which is a pretty good size horn cap.
Well, and you can also specify your pitch.
Sure.
The pitch of your horn.
Sure. A wood post horn is generally fairly straight up and down. If you're ordering a steel horn, which most saddles have always come with a steel horn, you can have one that's pitched way forward, one that's straight up and down, one that's even cocked back a little bit. calf roper will generally have a fairly short horn, about a 3-inch horn. Dally roper will generally have around a 3.5-inch horn. Most of them, as far as rodeo type saddles, most of them have a fairly small cap on them.
Okay.
A lot smaller than this. But this is kind of a cowpuncher saddle right here. That's what we're making.
So Stryker had a question. Is the seat length more for how large someone's butt is?
Not necessarily butt, but thigh.
Okay.
Because, and they, in my opinion, they measure Western saddles wrong. They measure them from here to here.
Yeah.
They ought to be measuring them from here to here.
Does your leg fit in it?
That's where your leg fits. If you have someone that's stocky, with a big thigh, they're gonna need a bigger saddle.
Chris is gonna need a big saddle.
Yeah, he probably would. He probably would. And also, if you have a slick fork saddle, one that's fairly straight up and down like this, you can get by with a shorter saddle.
Right, because you don't have this in the way.
Yeah, that's not in the way.
Right.
What else? What do you want to know?
Well, okay, so we have the saddle here, but I feel like the other piece of equipment that we don't have here with us is the stirrup that you would probably maybe buy separately.
Oh yeah, you buy the stirrup separate, and then there again you have a choice. There's several different kinds. You've got an oxbow stirrup, which is more or less a round stirrup.
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice of how wide you want that stirrup.
Right.
They have what they call a Visalia stirrup. It's flat across the bottom, but the flare on the outside goes from. Oh gosh, can I go get a stirrup?
Sure. Oh, do you want me to go get? It's on your table.
Let me get it because there's two stirrups. I want to bring them both.
Okay. Denny's gonna go fetch his stirrups. Does anybody have any questions that they've been mulling over that they want to put in the chat real fast while he runs and gets those?
Mulling over. I always thought people mold over.
Mulling over.
I thought they mold over.
I saw what you did there, Liz. You talked about mules.
I'm tired. I have been sending Cynthia lots of donkey videos.
Really making it. Never mind.
There was one where they had given their donkey like a squeaky chicken.
Oh yeah,
like a pirate chicken. Anyways, she's like, I'm gonna go get my donkey a pirate chicken, and I was like, please send us a video. I need to see it.
It's funny when you throw.
Yes, Chevy, we will do that.
Balls and things out into the pasture.
They're like
with
big
horses.
dogs.
They will run around and play with them.
Yeah. Hey Wayne.
Can you make a materials list? Yeah, right now the only thing on the material list is the saddle tree.
Well, I thought maybe at the end, maybe we'll talk about like getting all of your hardware, right? Because obviously, I mean, like
hardware,
and then
leather.
the leather that you need. So we'll go over all of that here at the end.
What are we going over?
The Thunder Thigh Gang. Okay.
All right.
Stirrups.
Okay, I've got two different kinds of stirrups here. This is what they call a Visalia stirrup, and it's plastic. I mean, it's nothing that I would put on a saddle, but still, when they're talking about a Visalia stirrup, they're talking about the shape right here.
Okay.
Correct? If this is about a 1.5-inch stirrup, if you ordered a 2-inch stirrup, it would still pretty much go from here to here. There's not a lot of curvature in it. And you can go all the way up to a 5-inch stirrup if you want to.
5 inches wide?
Yeah. This is what they call a bell-bottom stirrup here. And as you can see, it really swells out like a bell shape. And this is a 4-inch stirrup. But shoot, I could order it 5 or 6 inches wide if I wanted to.
What's going to make the difference on how wide you order it?
How wide you want it.
Okay.
The rider.
A stirrup like this, when you stand in it, if your heel is all the way up, you don't have a very large platform.
Right.
If you're doing a lot of, like, if you cowboy and you're out in the pasture all day long trotting around, you're on your stirrups a lot. A very narrow stirrup is pretty uncomfortable.
Gotcha.
A wide stirrup like this, You have a more of a
stand on it.
platform to stand on. Yeah. And plus, it's heavier. When you're getting on a horse, especially if you get on one that's fidgety and stuff and going back and forth, it's easy to find a heavy stirrup because they're hanging there for you.
Right.
And this one's flying all around. You got to chase it.
It likes to chase down their stirrups.
Yeah. And an oxbow stirrup is round here. And most people call them widowmakers because you can get your foot hung up in that round bottom stirrup.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it wouldn't happen, but have you ever seen pictures of someone getting dragged by a horse because their foot's hung up in a stirrup? And it's a lot more likely to happen in an oxbow stirrup.
So why would you have that kind of a stirrup?
Just because you have a better grip,
Oh.
Saddle bronc riders use an oxbow stirrup because
Gotcha.
they won't lose them, and they're going back and forth with their stirrup. And
It hooks around your foot better, which is good when
It
you need
holds
to keep
on, but sometimes too good.
right.
It holds even when you don't want it to.
Yeah. Then they've got what they call a Moran stirrup, which is real similar to a bell bottom, only it's wider up here. It's not quite as narrow,
Okay.
but it's still got that belled shape to it. And generally, they're a hair wider from here to here. They've got what they call an overshoe stirrup, which is extra wide, so you can put like heavy winter boots, even rubber boots.
So you might have those just hanging up to use in the wintertime when you
Wintertime.
need them.
Or
Okay.
if you're a big clodhopper foot,
A clodhopper foot.
then you might want that. They've got a roper stirrup, which is generally deeper from here to here.
Okay.
And they're generally shaped more like a Visalia stirrup. They're pretty much straight from here to here. They don't have that swell to them. And they're, I forget what the dimension. I think this is like 5 3/4 from here to here on a roper stirrup. They've got a roper and a deep roper. And I think the difference is instead of 5 3/4, I think it's probably 6 3/4, something like that.
So
I forget the exact.
where do we get stirrups? Where can people find stirrups?
Most tree companies will have stirrups for you. Or Weaver. You can order them from Weaver Leather Supply.
Well, there was that guy and his wife that came in last year. What was their name?
Where
With
were they
fancy.
From Rogersville or somewhere.
Yeah, they're here in
over
Missouri.
here. They make a really nice custom wooden stirrup. They aren't. This is just a run of the mill galvanized bound stirrup, but they make real fancy out of oak and walnut and cocobolo and all sorts of different
probably whatever
fancy
any wood
woods,
you would want.
which the finished stirrup itself, it needs nothing else because it's so pretty. I'm going to cover these. But let's see, what else do we need to talk about?
Old time shoe-like stirrups. Are they used anymore?
On side saddles, old side saddles, a lot of those little dainty stirrups had actually a little lady's shoe that your foot fit in.
We saw some of those when we were at the King Museum. They had some of those lady side saddle stirrups. I don't know where those women got their feet because I don't think we make feet like that anymore.
Those were, to some people, those would be toe stirrups.
Yeah. It's like, I don't think I could.
They're little. They're like this big.
They're tiny.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Yeah.
Was it Don Orell? Don Orell.
Orell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Orell. Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a company called Nettles that make wooden stirrups.
That's who it was that came in.
What, it was Nettles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you can also get stirrups instead of just galvanized. They're coated, or the outside covering is Monel, which is a real shiny, pretty, just nickel silver is what it is, I think.
Is there a bonus? So like this one, this is not a fancy stirrup. You're going to cover it in leather. You get a fancy stirrup. They'll have usually like a leather cuff a tread.
Yeah.
Is there any pros or cons to doing it any other way, or?
I like a full covered stirrup because of the weight. Because of what I was talking about. it's easier to find a
Yeah.
heavy stirrup than it is a light stirrup. You know, on a show saddle or something, you know, you see a lot of those fancy, just bare wooden stirrups.
Mhm.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
You know,
But for you, the weight isn't like, because you're working them.
To me, that's important.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, it might not be. So
Okay.
don't take my word for it. Order what you want, guys.
That's when it comes down to more like for the rider, personal preference, really,
Right.
when it gets to the stirrup part of it.
Exactly.
And then they say, okay, this is how I want you to decorate it.
Yeah.
Tessa's asking about tapaderos.
Tapaderos are cool.
Are you gonna be doing some for the saddle?
No, I'm not.
No tapaderos.
No, I'm not.
The last saddle that you sold, the
You-
guy wanted some tapaderos to go on it, and they were probably the biggest tapaderos I had ever seen.
They were eagle beaks. He said, I want those real long ones. So
Eagle
I
beaks.
made him some long ones.
Well, sitting on your saddle stand, they were dang
Oh,
near
yeah.
dragging the ground.
Yeah, the stand had to be 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about we have about 15 minutes left in the hour? So how about we kind of go through
What
all
you
the
need.
supplies that you need to build a saddle?
Okay. Well,
Minus leather tools. We'll cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You'll need a saddle tree.
We
Okay.
covered
And
that while
everybody
you're
says,
gone.
how much does it cost to build a saddle? Here's my thoughts on it. Don't build a cheap saddle. If you're going to put your time and effort into it, build the best saddle you can do. Use
Yeah.
good material. So the saddle trees, let's just say $500.
Yeah, I think I was
That's
looking
a
at
good round
their
figure.
premium quality tree here at Bowden, $425.
Yeah. Plus the wood post horn adds a little bit, does it not?
Oh, there was double cover for $325 to add that. Swells with the back sweep. There was a wood tree 300 add to that. I don't.
They used to charge extra for wood post horn. I guess they don't. Anyway,
$500?
yeah, just say
Five
500.
to 1,000, depending on how custom you want it to get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then you will need a seat strainer.
A seat strainer.
Not like your noodles.
That's just a piece of metal. You
So
can
this
make
doesn't come with it?
No, you have to buy them.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the fiberglass trees and stuff, the strainers are already there, so you don't have to buy that. But the strainers, $6 or $8, I
Okay.
don't know. Okay, we've got that covered. You'll need at least two full sides of saddle skirting. How much are those now? What?
I'm going to say like $280 at the
Yeah.
$280 to $300 a side.
I don't know.
So
Let me pull up the
$550 to
website.
$600 for
Yeah.
leather.
Hold on, I'm looking.
And then, Denny, when it comes to the thickness, like saddle skirting comes in different, you can get the 11 to 13, you can get 12 to 14, you can get 14 plus.
Herman Oak saddle skirting. That's in chestnut.
I would use the 12 to 14.
12 to 14.
That's average.
Okay.
If you're trying to build a really lightweight saddle,
12 to 14.
Yeah, it's gonna be
$315
Okay.
a side. $315 a side.
that's for a good using saddle.
Yeah.
Some people like
That's
heavy is better, so they would use the 14 plus. But
and that's $325 a side.
heavy, to my mind, heavy is not necessarily better. Heavy is heavy. You know, if you're trying to build a lightweight saddle, use the 12 to 14. Isn't that what it is, or 11, 12?
12
I think there's 11 to 13.
Yeah,
There's 11 to 13.
Yeah.
12 to 14.
If you're building a lightweight saddle, like a
14 to
lady
16.
saddle, or just a trail saddle, you know, something that you aren't going to actually rope cattle or something like that. Something the horse isn't going to lay down and roll over on, which happens. Okay, after the saddle skirting, you'll need the biggest part of a saddle latigo,
All right.
heavy latigo.
So
I
the
use
10 to 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I use heavy latigo. I'll cut my strings out of it, but I will split my strings down
Okay.
to probably 6 to 7 ounce.
Right.
You know, but the latigo will do for, you've got a latigo on one side and a half reed or an off billet on the other side. Then you've got your saddle strings. Then you've got your back flank billets and your flank cinch. They're all lined with Latigo, so it'll use the biggest part of the side.
And then make some saddlebags when you're done.
Around 200
per side. Or yeah, for the side. Okay. All right.
That was for the number. Number 2 is 192. Number 1 is 218.
Okay. Then you will need a sheepskin, which is
all right. Those are 90
and
or 99.
You want to make sure you use a bark tan sheepskin.
That's right.
Too, because if you use a chrome tan sheepskin, it gets brittle and pretty soon it's just little flakes.
And a lot of times your chrome ones don't come big enough.
Yeah.
You know, so you want a bark shearling, and you can either
11 to 12 square feet is what
they're all 11.
Yeah.
You look at the back of them; every single one of those is 11.
And most saddles I've built,
90,
I'll piece the sheepskin because you want the grain run in the right direction, and you can't get your
Hey,
skirts
Justin,
fit on there without.
Will you write down a note?
piecing them
Check
together.
BLLS.
All right.
Okay.
And it's when it comes to the shearling, you got the natural, and then you got the orange.
It really doesn't matter. Orange is traditional color on a saddle. You know.
110.
Okay.
The natural color works just as well.
Yeah.
But it's dirty.
Why is orange a thing? Why is that? I'm curious about the color.
I don't know.
I wonder if that was just like the color that it came out, like with the bark tannins.
Could have been.
And then they just didn't bleach it back in the day.
Could have been. I don't know. It's just like the saddle soap. You know, you've got your yellow and you've got your white. They both do exactly the same thing, but just whatever you like.
All right.
If you want a white sheepskin, get a white sheepskin. You know, just make sure it's bark tan. And generally, they'll clip it at about 3/4 or 1 inch. I'm not sure exactly what.
Synthetic or real?
Oh, real.
If you're building a saddle, don't cheapen it up.
There you go.
You know, get
of all the expenses, the $100 for the skirting or
that should
shearling.
answer your question there, TJ.
Yeah.
Don't skimp.
Well, because I mean, we use it sometimes for like applying finishes and stuff for that Codell.
Sure.
But
you will, yeah. The Codell is all right if you're doing a lot of saddle repair work, and someone's got their little kid's saddle that their grandfather had, you know, and they bring it in and say, "I want you to put a new lining on this." You know, a kid's gonna ride it for a year,
right,
and then they'll outgrow it.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't have to spend a lot of money on stuff like that.
So there's a time and a place for the Codell.
Yeah.
Like you can use it, but if you're doing this,
right,
that's not the place to use it. Okay.
Okay. Now we're down to hardware. I think. What else did I miss?
Oh, we didn't do the stirrups yet.
Okay, stirrups. Say if you're getting a pair of galvanized bound like this, I think they're around $40 to $50. Say 50.
All right, $50 for a pair of stirrups.
Yeah. Okay, you've got your hardware. I'm going to use a plate, a stainless steel plate on the front, and a stainless steel ring on the back. The rings will probably be $10 or $12 a pair. The front plates are probably $20 a pair.
So rings and plate. It's those big D rings, right?
Yes. Yeah, big stainless steel. You can use brass, or there's several companies that make bronze and brass hardware that are really nice. You know?
Yeah.
You can spend lots of money, or you can.
I'll call it $30 for those.
Yeah, say $30. Okay, then you've got numerous buckles. You've got buckles for your stirrup leather hobbles. You've got buckles for your flank cinch. You've got a buckle for your cinch connectors. You've got a couple of rings for your breast collar connector. Say another $40 for those.
For just buckles, and then you got your blevins.
Blevins. What are those? Around $30 a pair.
I think so. Somewhere in there.
Okay, I don't know where we are now.
Well, then you got conchos.
Oh yeah, if you're going to use conchos, I think we bought those sterling plate conchos for around $60, something like that. If you don't want to use, metal conchos, you can save a couple of bucks
for blevins.
Okay.
Miscellaneous screws and nails, probably another $20 for those.
Yeah. gallon of glue, gallon of cement.
Gallon of glue.
By the time you're done, you'll be using a big part of a gallon.
Yeah.
Matt, you want masters?
Every time.
Yeah, masters, or you know what? Chris Andre uses weldwood.
That's right.
If Chris uses it, by golly, you can use it. You know?
$30 to $60 for a gallon of glue.
Yeah.
Depending on what you pick.
Hello.
You know, and then of course, there's always miscellaneous stuff that I'm not thinking about.
Sure.
What have we got so far?
This is what we got.
Okay, add this up.
All right. Hold on. Let me get to my calculator. All right.
500.
Got it.
10.
10.
630.
630.
200.
200.
110.
110.
50.
50.
30.
30.
40.
40.
30.
30.
20.
20.
And 50.
50. $1,670.
There you go. That's how much a saddle's going to cost, give or take. You might get by for $1,500. You know, because we didn't underestimate anything. I don't think.
Yeah.
And there might be some.
I mean, you can get a fancier
There
tree.
might be throwing another $30 miscellaneous, $1,700 maybe that we missed out on.
Yeah.
Plus some
But
shipping.
you know, and that's a fair price. Where could you cut corners? You could buy a cheaper tree probably for $300. You could buy cheaper leather for probably $500.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Everything else is pretty much going to be what it is.
Everything else is going to be about that.
You can ride without stirrups. That'll save you $50.
Yeah.
Just ride bareback. Call it a day.
$1,500 to $1,700 is what it's going to cost you to build a good saddle.
I think Garrett said, say $2,000 with shipping and taxes by the time you get done with everything.
Yeah. But you know, and people say, "Wow, why are they so expensive?" Because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. We got it all on cardboard right here, you guys.
Well, and then even just think about it, like, so if you're making this to resell, you're going to have $2,000 in materials if you are hand making a saddle. So, you know, like, think about that as far as pricing goes. Obviously, hopefully we're all taking materials into account, but you're going to have.
Yeah, and you know, when we're building this saddle, you aren't going to see the actual time period that it's going to take because we're going to do it in pieces. You know, and we're not going to show the tooling for the most part.
Right.
There might be a part where I've got a tool until I can do something else. So we might show a little of it that way.
Are there any sections that you have to tool while they're on the saddle?
Yeah, the fork of the saddle has to be tooled on it.
That I think that we should watch Denny tool whilst on a saddle.
Okay. And if you're going to do the horn cap, it has to be on the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not for sure, but I might tool the gullet.
Oh. She'd be real fancy.
I saw someone tool the underside of this strainer.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But that's sort of...
Just do some finger carving down there.
Yeah. Well, it's something... You're going to see a strip this big
Mm-hmm.
this by the time you get your skirts on.
We're doing this for competition, Denny.
Right, but...
Remember what Chris said. To get those bonus points, you got to throw in... You got to throw in some fun
Denny
things.
will be tooling the underside of the strainer.
Denny will.
Yeah, or I could, but that's gonna finish.
Okay, we'll do that. But you know, and the stirrups, I'm probably not going to show covering those because I've been covering getting ready to. Because
how about you do one?
Well, this wasn't part of this planning video, and we're not going to do that.
You know, and stuff like the flank billets and the flank cinch, I'm not going to show, but I want to show the mechanics of the saddle itself.
Well, okay, so Steve asked, or no, Travis did ask about patterns. So this is
what we're going to be coming up with is
I don't know if Tony or you want to give him a copy of I use what I call ballpark patterns,
right,
which are patterns that let you cut a piece of leather in the general shape that's plenty big enough.
It gets you in the ballpark.
It gets you in the ballpark for what you want to do. Everything else is hand fit and cut as you build the saddle.
Right.
So set of patterns for this saddle is not going to do you any good if you're building a weight saddle, with a 17-inch seat.
Well, so, and I think what the goal will be is to kind of give you guys the information that you can take and then fit it to your tree.
Yeah. Well, Kevin in the past has asked me to make a set of saddle patterns. So if you guys want to, we can use these ballpark patterns.
Yeah.
I think that's going to get us to the best place.
Yeah, and we can sell the ballpark patterns to people or whatever you want to do. I don't know. Dusty Johnson has a set of ballpark patterns that you can buy. I know that.
Does Don have patterns?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I don't think so. Because of that, every saddle is different.
Yeah.
You were asking if you could put the old leather on a new tree. There are minor differences that make a difference.
Yeah.
Especially right here to right here, and right here, right here, and right here. If those aren't exact, you're going to have big old gap opus.
Nobody wants a gap opus.
No, a gap opus is not good.
Chevy wants to know how much for a small tooled corn cob on there.
He wants to be a part of your saddle. There you go.
We'll want to see the saddle on a horse. We'll have Fred bring in a horse.
Yeah,
I got 2 of them. We can take them out.
All right, it's Tony on the horse.
There we go.
We'll take a trip. It'll include the drive out there. Well, the other part of the stuff that we want to talk about is what these video layouts are going to be like. And so we talked about 13 to 16 parts that's going to happen of all of that. All the tooling, except for here and there pieces that Liz will win, and she'll get to have that on video. Most of the tooling will be taking place off of it. And so each session is going to be about 3 to 4 hours. If we find a stopping point where we can't go on, the next piece isn't going to fit in that time frame. We're going to leave us some space to where we can answer questions that went along with that little piece that happened in the chat. The other part's going to come is it's going to be, you have to be a subscriber for it. So to keep the chat down, to keep it moving along, to not have a bunch of questions like we're feeling like we're leaving people out, that we're not doing the video part of it as well as we should, it's going to be subscription based. So you'll have to pay to be able to watch these. Don't worry, you're going to get them. After we get done, either Justin or myself are going to whittle them down just a little bit to take out moving cameras around or anything else that was just kind of filling space, and then we will air them back as a recorded video. But you just won't get to you won't get to ask your questions that kind of happen there, other than in the comment section afterwards. So,
and building the saddle live, that's going to be quite an undertaking. What if I've got to go in the other room and split a piece of leather?
And that's the part that's the part that'll be,
we'll clip it out.
That you're going to get there when you're live, and those people that have paid, they understand that there's going to be this extra stuff that's there, and what they get back for is going to be that 30 to 45 minutes at the end of each session where we're going to answer the questions of the people that were in the chat. And that's what they're going to get for their time, is that little one-on-one teaching with Denny, and then when we get that video, the video that's now recorded that we can download back, we can cut that part out where Denny had to leave the room, or we had to go pee, or what have you, fill up the coffee cup.
So what kind of, like a Twitch subscription or a YouTube subscription?
Well, there's things, there's a way to make it where they already subscribe to us, but then there's content you can't see without paying.
Okay.
So there's ways to do it. I will have more information to come. Liz just found out about this part this morning.
Yeah, I've been gone for like a week.
She just found out about this, and I told it to her, and I haven't done the investigation, because if she would have said, no, you're an idiot, Tony, which she kind of did anyway, and I was like, yeah, I know.
You didn't pay any attention.
I was like, I'm doing it anyway. So we'll find out that.
But we'll still be doing Twitch and YouTube, right? Both of them?
I believe that is the case,
okay.
That we can do it on both of them, and it will be able to get past the pay barrier type of thing.
So just know that for those of you that are going to be watching this live, we won't be monitoring the chat while we're live building, but we will take time for that at the end of every one to go back through. You guys write down your questions, get them ready we're working.
It'll either be me monitoring the chat as I'm moving cameras around, or Justin monitoring chat as we move stuff around, or we'll have Isaac that's just kind of sitting monitoring questions.
Yeah.
And he's writing down the questions so we know what we have.
That way we're not interrupting Denny as he's working. He can get through the pieces that he's trying to get through. He doesn't have to change his mindset and answer this or that question or whatever.
You guys can sit there with your notebooks and take your own notes of what's going on. Write your question down, and then we can kind of move on so we can all be at the same type of thing.
Yeah, we don't need Denny being distracted by weird questions.
I'll try to more or less explain what I'm doing as I do it, but you know how I am.
Well, and some of the questions that I ask, I know the answer to when we're on the videos or whatever, because I know what the chat is going to ask or I see, and I'm able to work that in to the part of it. And I will continue to do that to make that a thing. This is just the biggest undertaking that we're going to be doing. It's going to be entered up for a competition show saddle, so we want to set Denny up the best way to succeed. And then also the content that we're out is going to be the best content that we can put out, and this is the best way that we know how to do it.
This is the first time we're doing something like this, so
I'm trying to be as upfront with you. So I will let you know that we talked about it, and our IT department was setting the computer up over in the other area, and Rusty saw it, and he goes, how much is it going to cost to get all new cameras just to have cameras over in that area anyway? Because he wants to move the stripping department out of there and make it all a classroom and have a more classroom type of setting, so that if this goes well, then we will be able to offer more online classes that will be
like we've been talking about, but we just haven't
This is the foray into. Sometimes it takes a long time to hammer at a rock to make the crystals come out.
Look at you! Look at you!
So that's the explanation. We'll have more. Check our social. Check Discord. Check Facebook, Instagram. When we know how the subscription thing is going to work to be able to watch us live, that is where we will put out the information.
That's right. And so we won't be starting this on Friday. It'll be next Wednesday when we actually get started. We may or may not have a video on Friday. Denny is going to be out, and so I have to talk to Kevin and see if there's anything that he'd like to do. But since I literally just got back today, I don't have a great plan for this week.
I got some ideas. I just got to figure out what they are first.
Do you guys want to watch me make origami birds? I could do that. I could do that a lot. In any case, so just next Wednesday is when we'll actually get started. So if you are ready and you have the time to be taking, are we going to start early? What time are we going to be starting the video since we're running for 3 hours?
Well, that's for Lo to tell me.
Let's start.
Do you want to do morning and then we'll be
do
answer questions and go to lunch?
9 to noon.
9 to noon.
That's 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
Well, that'll give me time to get here and kind of get
settled
and rounded up.
Okay.
Get everything.
Look at that, guys. Decision made.
What we're gonna
so 9 to noon, Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yep.
9 to noon, Wednesdays and Fridays.
And we'll try to it may go a little bit longer than noon. If we're in the middle of a fender or something, then we'll finish whatever that is. Yeah. We'll answer our questions, and then we'll stop after that. So it shouldn't go any more than 1 o'clock. Hopefully we can keep it in by that noon time.
Yeah. One last question. Standing TW wants to know, how do you know when you're ready to enter a competition?
Do you do leather work? Do you do leather work?
You're always ready to enter a competition.
And you're interested in getting better.
So me and Chevy said we just wanted to hear from you.
Yeah.
To be honest, this will be the second thing that I've ever entered in a competition. So, probably 50 years. That's my answer.
I think if you are doing leather work to the best of your ability, you're researching your things, you are attempting to do best practice when you're in your production, and it's something that you look at it and you're just like, I legitimately feel like I'm doing my best work. Whether or not you win isn't the point. It's to go, just like we talked about with Chris Andre, and to get the feedback from the people that are there judging, from the high-end makers that are looking at your work, so that you can continue to be better. I mean,
I can let me put this to an umpiring standpoint, because that's my wheelhouse. I do some leather work, but it's not going to be something that's entered in a competition. But I officiate at a pretty high level for collegiate sports. And so we have umpire camps that you go to, and you think that you're good, and I want the next level. I want to work Division I. I want to work a regional. I want to work postseason conference tournaments. You go to a camp, and you have the evaluators look at you. You have the people look at you, and you go, well, here's stuff that you're doing wrong. Here's something that you're doing wrong. You're doing really great at this, but here's where you can improve. Here's where you can improve. And now I've set myself apart from whatever Liz is doing on the field to make myself better than what she could put on the field. Now I've gone and I've learned more, and this is what's going to put me ahead of somebody else to just kind of continue to get better. Now, extrapolate that and put that into whatever the leather work is. If you want to be better in your leather work and say, okay, whether you can say, I won this award or I won that award, you're going to have the knowledge from somebody else that's been recognized as a leader in holsters, as a leader in saddles, a leader in belt making,
or whatever,
tooling, whatever it may be, of saying that you've got what it takes. Here's what is going to take you to the next level. And that adds on to your bottom line of what kind of profits you're making off of the things that you are making.
Yeah.
You know, when we were in Sheridan, and I was looking at the saddles, and there was one Native American guy who had built a saddle, and he had pictorial carvings of different people that he knew. And I was talking to him later, and he said, yeah, this is just like my 10th saddle or something like that. He said, but I knew all these people, and he was telling me all about it, you know, and he'd only built 10 saddles in his whole life, but he entered that one in the show, and it was a very nice saddle, you know, but he found out what he needs to do to be better, you know, and I bet if he enters the saddle next year, it's going to blow your mind, you know, because he was there, and he wasn't a beginner, but he certainly wasn't a seasoned saddle maker.
And I don't think you ever know where you stand until you give it a shot. You pick a category, say you're going to do this thing, and do it with your whole heart, you know, like don't do it the week before, like enter and then just be like, just put it off. Like, do your best work, put it in, see where you fall with all the other people, and go from there.
Yeah, you know, when I was building saddles for a living, you know, I didn't feel like I ever had time to compete in anything. I had to make a living.
Right.
But I was doing the best job that I could do every time that I did it. And, you know, early on is when I entered that one competition, and I did pretty well at it, you know. But
you won.
But, but it was a pretty small pond, you know. I was a fish in a pretty small pond at that time. But the pond's gotten huge, you know.
And pretty talented.
Yeah, pretty talented. So now I need to see, you know, and it's not if I win or lose. I just want to be in the competition, you know.
Denny just wants a saddle in the room.
Yeah.
Just have a saddle in the room, guys.
Yeah.
Just be part of the conversation.
Just do what you do and send it up there.
That's right.
That's right. Everybody that is watching that now should be planning out what they're going to make for.
That's right, everybody.
Debut. We're going to be in it. We're going to, like I said, we're going to put our money in Denny's mouth.
Put it right here.
Oh, in your pocket. Well, that's what we have, and we'll figure out something on Friday, and Justin will put out a notice
what we're going to do
for that, and then we'll figure out the subscription thing and how that's going to work out, and that will be also there.
Yeah, so keep an eye on social, because we'll do a post probably about like, hey, saddle videos, this is how to watch them live, but then also just know that we will do the cut down version and then release those. Are we going to do it as we go or after everything is done?
Justin and I have not talked about it, so we just got to talk it out. Like Wednesdays that we do next Wednesday may come out the following.
So maybe a week
Wednesday.
Offset. That seems okay. That seems reasonable
to kind of get it done. So next week,
3 hours of footage. That's a job. That's a task.
Yeah. Nice, Foxy. Send us updates as you do it. That's awesome. She's starting her first saddle.
All right.
She's like, it might be finished by 2026.
All right. You guys
have plenty soon enough.
Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Tomorrow, Liz and I will be here for live shopping. We're going to sell leather and things. What the leather is, I have no idea, but
we'll figure it out.
We're going to do it.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you later.